Yo, what's up, everybody, and welcome into A Bettor Morning right here on the Bettor Sports Network. A Bettor Morning presented by Rival Fantasy, the all-in-one fantasy sports platform. I'm your host, Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, getting you ready for the day in sports, the upcoming NFL season, fantasy football draft. I got some information for you coming up as well. Coming up on the program today, but the past couple days talking about the X Factor quarterbacks. Yesterday, we talked about the worst quarterback rooms in the NFL. I don't know how Russell Wilson avoided that, but he did. But today, we talk about the elite quarterbacks, the alpha males in the quarterback room, the guys that are the cream of the crop. And speaking of quarterback rooms, today we will take our first in-depth look at the fourth-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide coming into the season. They got their first game of the season this year versus Middle Tennessee State. Now, obviously, I'm not going to break down a game where Bama is a 39-point favorite, but there is some things I want to touch on about Alabama this upcoming season. But first, let's start with these elite-level quarterbacks in the NFL, and let's start at the top with the reigning champion, the guy who is the MVP, Super Bowl MVP, and the man, Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Now, coming into the year last year, everybody, you know how everybody on this network seems to do, oh, well, what about the weapons? What about his weapons? Well, last year, Patrick Mahomes lost his number one target in Tyreek Hill. But it didn't hurt him not one bit, because last season without Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes still threw for over 5,000 yards. He still had 40 touchdowns. His completion percentage was still at 67, and he was completing 8 yards a throw. So losing his top target in the as a wide receiver didn't help. Now, obviously, he still has the best tight end ever in Travis Kelce, right? Because Travis Kelce is the GOAT of tight ends. A 14-3 regular season with really only one top weapon in Travis Kelce. That's because when you make $45 million a year, like Patrick Mahomes does, you are the weapon. That's what I keep trying to explain to everybody when they talk about quarterback weapons. Mahomes is an elite, reigning Super Bowl champion, two-time MVP, who will probably be in that conversation yet again this year. Now, he does have Kelce, but then look at the rest of the names. When you talk about he doesn't have any weapons, Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, Justin Ross, Kadarius Toney, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. That's the weapons in the receiving room that Patrick Mahomes has to throw to. Yet and still, he's averaging close to 70% completions, averaging 8 yards a throw. Kansas City Chiefs come into the season with a win total sitting at 11.5. One of the best in the NFL because they're probably the best team in the NFL. If you were to say who's going to be playing in the AFC Championship game, where's the location is going to be, a good bet would be that it would be where it's always at, in Kansas City, Missouri, at the Kansas City Chiefs Arrowhead Stadium. So Patrick Mahomes continues to be the most elite signal caller in this league. Next up, Philadelphia Eagle quarterback Jalen Hurts. Now, last year, I'll be 100% honest with you. I was a guy that said, I got to see what Hurts can bring to the table. I want to see a little bit more. Well, I saw everything I needed to see last year as Son was headed towards an MVP season until he got hurt late in the year. Now, people say this year, well, I hit a knock against Hurts coming into this season. They might get a book on Hurts. You don't get a book on elite quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts is in that category. Calm, cool, collective. As a passer, yes, last season, 3,700 yards, completed 66% of his passes, 8 yards a throw, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Not impressed? How about as a rusher? 760 yards and 13 touchdowns. This man combined for a total of 35 total touchdowns last season. Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback, the best quarterback in the NFC, and probably the second best quarterback in the NFL right now. Philadelphia Eagles win total coming into the season sitting at 11.5. They are the favorite to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl yet again this year. The NFC is a weaker conference. They only really have one real true stud quarterback in Jalen Hurts, if you ask me. You got a couple guys on the come up, but, those are those guys that he doesn't have any weapons, like y'all say about Justin Fields and Dak Prescott. Jalen Hurts does have a weapon. I'll give him credit for that. Philadelphia Eagles organization, they went out and got him a weapon, and a dynamic one at that in A.J. Brown. This is a guy who we've seen average 20 yards a catch. Last year, he averaged just under 18 yards a catch. Career numbers across the board last season, no playing with Jalen Hurts. So you know that Jalen Hurts has full lockstep of this offense. Now, the offensive coordinator is going, he's in Indianapolis now. They're going to bring in a new guy, but the scheme is going to be the same. It's going to be Jalen Hurts throwing the football to Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And it's going to be Jalen Hurts using his legs to make plays. Jalen Hurts don't turn the ball over like other NFC East quarterbacks do, if you know who I'm talking about. Jalen Hurts gets it done in the clutch, if you know what I'm talking about. So, yes, Jalen Hurts, an elite quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. That win total sitting at 11.5 is probably not something that I will take to the table. But what I will say is this. For those of you who continue to sleep on Jalen Hurts, it's going to be a long night, brother. Not to mention the fact, when that comes to that win total, I think Philadelphia's 11 to 12 win team, so I won't take it to that point, but they're definitely a double-digit win squad, and Jalen Hurts is an elite NFL quarterback. Up next, Joe Burrow, quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, is an elite-level quarterback. Last season, over 440 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Oh, and then he ran for 250 yards and 5 scores. That's 40 total touchdowns for Joe Cool last year. This is a young quarterback who has already been to 2 AFC championship games and a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow's the real deal. And you know what makes him even better? He plays in the AFC North, or as I call the NFL's Hall of Fame division. He plays in a division that has Mike Tomlin on the sideline. He plays in a division in which he has to compete with Lamar Jackson. But the Cincinnati Bengals have won back-to-back NFC North titles. His weapons, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Now, Joe Burrow does have weapons at his disposal, but he uses them correctly, they get it done. We know what Chase is. He can be a 1,500-plus yard receiver. T. Higgins goes out there, gives you over 1,000 yards. Win total coming into the year, sitting at 11.5. They'll be a double-digit win team in the NFL's toughest division. Oh, not to mention the fact Joe Burrow is currently the MVP frontrunner coming into the season. His cohort, Jamar Chase, has the shortest odds to win Offensive Player of the Year this year. Joe Burrow, elite-level quarterback in the NFL. See, these are the guys that get it done. These aren't the guys that make excuses. These aren't the guys that throw interceptions. These guys don't give away possessions by giving the ball to the other team. These guys go out there season after season, year after year, and get it done on the football field. Joe Burrow has gotten to that level of play. He's an elite quarterback who's probably getting ready to have an MVP season. That's where the fantasy executive money going to be at. I'm going to have a Joe Burrow ticket. As a matter of fact, it might be over here somewhere. You think I'm BSing you? I'm not. Truth of the matter is, this guy's a player. Now, the next and final elite level quarterback. When I talk elite level quarterbacks, I talk about quarterbacks that can win the most valuable player award. I talk about quarterbacks that you see playing in the NFC and AFC championship games. Those are the elite level quarterbacks, the quarterbacks that get wins. The final elite level quarterback is 45-16 as a starter. Lamar Jackson hasn't even lost 20 games as a starter. I repeat, 45-16 as a starting quarterback in this league, Lamar Jackson. Now, the last 2 seasons, Jackson got injured. Each year that Lamar Jackson got injured, his team, the Baltimore Ravens, that play in the AFC, were the number 1 seed when Jackson went down, despite being in the conference with Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, also elite quarterbacks. When Lamar Jackson is on his game, there is no better weapon in the NFL than Lamar Jackson. Now, speaking of weapons, He has one in the super dynamically talented Mark Andrews. You know who Mark Andrews is. We fantasy football people. Elite level tight end. But everybody that talks about he don't have no weapons. This is the wide receivers Lamar Jackson was throwing to last year. Devin Duvernay, Deshaun Jackson at age 50, Andy Isabella, Sammy Watkins, who can never stay on the field. I didn't hear nobody talk about Lamar Jackson weapons, though, because when you make $50 million a season, you the damn weapon. And Lamar Jackson in his 45-16 record as a starter is a weapon. I expect the Baltimore Ravens to be playing deep into the season this year. 10.5 is the win total, plus 900 to win the AFC. Another ticket that's going to be in the fantasy executive pocket. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens at plus 900 to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Those are the NFL's elite level quarterbacks. Now, 3 of them play in the AFC. So they got to duke it out with Jackson, Burrow, and Mahomes. Hurts is the lone NFC quarterback in there. Oh, you didn't put Josh Allen in the mix. Josh Allen is not an elite level quarterback. He turned the ball over too much. Justin Fields barely let Justin Fields throw. Deshaun Watson had the same numbers as the Jet quarterback last year, Wilson. Zach Wilson and Deshaun Watson had identical numbers last season. Now, I know Watson needs to get back on track. He needs to get up to speed after basically not playing football for 2 years, but I got to see it first. So that's where you are right there on your elite level quarterbacks. I had a fantasy football draft last night, and that team has Jalen Hurts on it. It has A.J. Brown on it. I went and got that stack. I'm trying to knock down that tournament in the Fantasy Football World Championship. So, yes, elite level quarterbacks help you win in fantasy. They help your favorite team win. They help you cash winning bets, and they help you cash winning futures tickets. Now, I know a lot of you are getting ready for your fantasy football drafts this upcoming weekend. I got a special for you. Start a free 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription and get the fantasy football draft guide and cheat sheet for free. I said the word free twice, so I need to run it back. Start a free 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription and get the fantasy football draft guide and cheat sheet for free. Better Boss said if the Bears win the North, Justin Fields will be live. I think the North is going to the Green Bay Packers this year. Now, I think Justin Fields will show improvement this upcoming year. I truly do. But this is the same thing that you see on the daytime talk shows. Whenever somebody talks about Justin Fields, they say, well, look what Jalen Hurts did last year. Justin Fields ain't Jalen Hurts. It's 2 totally different players. It's 2 totally different skill sets. And I don't want to hear nothing about no weapons either. Justin Fields, I think, will be improved. But to go to the Jalen Hurts conversation with a dude that threw the ball for 2,200 yards last year is insane. They're saying, oh, Justin Fields can be 3,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards. That's Lamar Jackson MVP numbers. Are those numbers attainable? Sure. But if Justin Fields is throwing for over 3,000 yards, I'm not sure the Chicago Bears are winning many football games, but that is yet to be determined. Now, speaking of winning football games, Alabama Crimson Tide, and Nick Saban have done a lot of that over the course of the past few seasons. Well, really the past 17 years, right? Now, Alabama opens up this Saturday in Tuscaloosa versus Middle Tennessee. They are a 39-point home favorite. Now, I'm not sitting up here getting ready to handicap a game with a 39-point spread, but I will tell you this. I would take the 39 with Middle Tennessee because the big story coming out of Alabama as we get ready for the upcoming college football season is this quarterback battle. Who is going to be Alabama's starting quarterback? Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, or Tyler Buckner? Gone are the days of Tua, Jalen Hurts, Bryce Young. Those days are gone. So everybody wants to know who is going to be Alabama's quarterback starting this year. So yesterday I said to Heather, hey, Heather, we're going to talk Alabama tomorrow because we'll probably get a starting quarterback announcement at a press conference today. Well, Nick Saban did have a press conference yesterday, and here's what he had to say.
That, your number one focus is not on the game, it's on the depth chart. And look, there's a lot of competition on the team, and when we put a depth chart out, you all think that's like final, like this is like etched in stone that it's going to be this way forevermore, just because we come out of fall camp and that's where it is. But it creates a lot of distractions on our team, creates a lot of guys thinking that, well, this guy won the job now and I'm not going to play or whatever. And quite frankly, we don't need that. And I want all of our players to continue to compete, continue to compete for playing time, to try to play at the highest level. And I don't.
All right, so basically what Nick Saban is saying is he doesn't know who the quarterback is yet this year. You see, because every time a coach goes in front of the media, he knows his team is listening. He wants those quarterbacks to keep competing. He doesn't know who the starter's going to be this year. They got a major problem in Alabama with this quarterback situation. Because, yes, a 39-point favorite versus Middle Tennessee, that's not a big deal. So you'll probably see Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, and Tyler Buckner get some playing time this Saturday. But next Saturday is the problem. Because you see, next Saturday, Big Bad Texas and Quinn Ewers, they come into Tuscaloosa. Bryce Young got him out of trouble last year versus this Texas team. Texas is going to be a team that is going to be, a lot of people are going to pick to beat Alabama next week, more than likely including myself. So they got to figure out this situation, because if they're playing quarterback roundtable when Texas come to town, Alabama may start the season at 1-1. Now, here's the other issue with Alabama. The explosive plays in the passing game are no longer. There is no more Jerry Jeudy. There is no more Julio Jones. There is no more Devontae Smith. There is no more Henry Ruggs, Jameson Williams, Amari Cooper, or Jalen Waddle. Those guys are in the NFL now. That wide receiver room in Alabama ain't the same. That explosion in the passing game is not there no more. That's going to be a problem for whoever the quarterback is. Next week, I think it's going to be tough. Now, the interesting thing about this press conference is because once Heather sent me this clip, I said to myself, I got to go watch this whole press conference. So I went back and I watched the whole press conference. Nick Saban has the Alabama media so scared of him that nobody asked who the starting quarterback was going to be. And it happened to remind me of when the debate between the Alabama starting quarterback was between Tua and Jalen Hurts. And that classic and that classic on-field interview between Maria Taylor and Nick Saban.
All right, Coach, everyone had questions about who was going to start at quarterback when this game started. What answers did you have about your quarterbacks after watching both of them play tonight?
Well, I still like both guys. I think both guys are good players. I think both guys can help our team. All right, so why do you continually try to get me to say something that doesn't respect one of them? I'm not going to, so quit asking.
I'm not going to, so quit asking. It's probably going to be something like that happened this Saturday in Tuscaloosa when all the quarterbacks play and somebody says, who are we going to get next week? I'm not telling, so quit asking. And Saban already just said in the press conference, I want all of them to be sharp. The competition continues. The problem is, I don't think Alabama's a college football playoff team this year. I don't think Alabama is in the SEC championship game this year. I think when you get to that part of this game, and don't get me wrong, the two toughest games are at home. Games versus LSU, game versus Texas, game versus Tennessee. Those games are in Tuscaloosa. But I don't think Alabama got the horses this year. I don't. I'm thinking that they're a 9-10 win team, but I don't see them as a team that's going to be playing for a spot in the college football playoff. So there you go right there. That's my thoughts on what's going on. Now, shout out to everybody at Rival Fantasy sponsoring the show. Really appreciate that. Don't forget, for all of you getting ready for a draft this week, you can start a 7-day free trial of Fantasy Alarm's All Pro subscription and get the Fantasy Football Draft Guide and cheat sheet for free. Print that out, take it to your draft, dominate your draft. All right, so they're getting ready to get up out of here for today. Up next, coming up at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time is Sportstopia Fire and Ice MLB with Drew Silver and Chris Crawford, a couple of guys I know and used to work with. It's also the debut of a new daily NFL show from Sportstopia today at noon Eastern Time. Interesting to see how that one goes right there. All right, so for my talented producer, Miss Heather Klein, and everybody here at the Better Sports Network, I would like to wish you adieu and bid you a better morning.